Hey, how you doing? It's clobbering time. Me and Marcus. No, we're not going to fight. We're going
Yes,
to
we
get
are.
along.
Just
Oh,
like they do online.
yeah, that's
You're
right.
a poopy head, John,
Right. You and
and
your
your
politics.
comic smells,
Yeah,
but it's
your
good, but it
politics are
smells.
bad, and I doubt your masculinity.
I'm sure you. You know what? That's what it's going to end up being anyway. They're all going to get along eventually. They're all a
Yeah.
bunch of morons.
You know what?
Every
No,
single one of them, and they're friends of mine. And well, not I don't know Ethan, but they're all good friends of mine. They're all acting like a bunch of morons.
and you know what I realized today? In my job, I spend a lot of time like working by myself. So
Oh, that's a good idea.
yeah, they know better. They know better.
Yeah, well,
Especially when the coffee truck doesn't have coffee at 6:30 in the morning in Manhattan. What good are you? And then I gotta wait till 9 o'clock to get a cup of coffee. So I don't want to talk. Like it's before coffee and after coffee is two different beings. Like the elevator guy is just like, I thought I pissed you off. I was like, no, I just didn't have my coffee. He goes, dude, I totally relate. But anyway, I spent a lot of time by myself today, and I come to the realization there's a lot of guys I work with. There's 80 guys on my job right now, electricians alone. And then there's another 80 carpenter. There's another 80 steam fitters. You know what I mean?
right. No, 80
Every
guys, yeah.
day, sooner or later, just because of circumstances, you piss somebody off. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? And you know what? By the end of the day, you pat each other on the back and going, "Hey, that's all right, man. I'm sorry. I was in a bad mood."
Yeah, because you're in person. I mean, my
Right.
feeling is that
That's that's
I've been in crews, like phone company, 30 guys in this crew, 40 you change crews, and not everybody gets along, and there's little cliques, and these are the guys that go out to lunch together, and these are the guys that play bat, whatever they do. And there's always disputes, and it's just like that. But online, it's expanded. You're not face to face, not face to face, face to face. But you're not face to face to really take care of it. And they're not even they're doing this a little bit, which helps a little bit, but it's still not quite the same.
that's my point. In men get, in my experience, regular blue collar masculine men, they're quick
Well, there's
to
another
anger.
problem.
Yeah, they're quick to anger, but they're also quick to forgive.
Yeah, and the people that are not blue collar, like in the comic biz, don't understand that. So there's guys out there who have worked before, even the stars of this, at some point worked a real job. Some of them have not. But the ones that did will be a little rougher and they'll be taken completely wrong. Or they'll push it too far. Like pushing it too far is usually what happens.
Well,
and then people get really hurt and you're like, well, so-and-so, should you really be that hurt? Oh, yeah, that guy's a bad person. Like I've talked to people like that. You've talked to the same people.
right.
Don't worry about it.
One thing at work, we bust each other's chops to the point it's an adage that if you're not busting somebody's chops, that means you don't like them.
That's what we do on the studio.
You know what
honestly.
I mean? So but if you're paying attention, you could see when you're about to cross the lines.
Yeah, but you can't see that online. You can't see that.
So that's online, like as many people said, it's fake and gay.
It's fake. It's fake. And even YouTube's a little fake,
Right.
Even though we're talking here.
I hate Marcus.
I know you hate me. Did I tell for getting off that? And I know we're going to get started soon. But did you see me? I won the studio this week.
Oh, I didn't see.
So Dan Panosian was on, right? What a terrific guy, right?
Yeah, he can't draw. It's good that you beat him because Dan Panosian can't draw for anything.
I did not beat Dan Panosian. I'm not saying that. But Dan said to me, I'll show you what I drew. You guys can see it. We drew Prophet, your favorite character. Another name that means nothing to this character. So I drew Prophet. And Dan said, wow, you really should have worked for Extreme years ago. So then I don't know if they were happy because I'm the Image guy. I'm like, I don't really like Image that much, but I'm the one that the Image guy said was really good, right?
Yeah, so those guys worship at the altar of Image. Me and you are like, no way.
Well, Dan's not like that anymore. He inked my friend, and that I went to school with too. So I got to ask him. He's really nice. It's got over 500 views. Yeah. We're gonna have Elysian. Who's that? Elysian Fields on. What's his name again? I'm not gonna be on, but you had him on last week.
Oh, okay, yeah. Good comic. The comic looks amazing.
Yeah, that looks terrific. And then on Omer Glitches, we had Chad Townsend on.
Yeah, I
I like
reached out
that. I
to
backed
Jim
that book.
Panosian, and he says he was like months ago, and he said he wasn't available. So I'll
No,
reach out
he was
again.
really busy. He just squeezed it out, and apparently Don's been friends with him on Facebook for years, so maybe that has something to do with it.
Yeah, I'm sure. One of my partners at work is like been Facebook friends with Jeff Johns for like 20 years, to the point they talk on the phone.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
And he gave me Jeff Jones' phone number, but he won't answer. He probably thinks I'm spam.
well, if you're if you're out of state, yeah. Oh yeah, Stippling Vaughn did one too. He didn't join up. Stippling's in our chat today, and I was on Billy's show last night.
Oh, Billy Tucci.
Yes,
cool.
Billy was asking what he should do, what IP he should do after She Gatecrasher. And he got it in his mind that he should do Ran, the original She. That was the character he had before he created She.
Oh, okay.
Because Rand's in this book, She Gatecrasher. I'm not a huge She fan, but I did back this one because it's really interesting.
Yeah, I got the omnibus and I haven't read it yet. Sorry, Billy, I haven't read any She.
And we
yet.
said that. I said that you got to do Rand. He's all excited to do Rand. He's got all sorts of other things that he could do. And I said, and his wife was on there, and everybody's on there. And I said, you got to do Rand, or you will not be able to do it again, because if you wait 6 months or a year to do Rand, people will forget who Rand is. If this was a really successful campaign, this Gatecrasher, which it is,
right? Strike while the iron is hot.
Strike while it's hot. I'm doing Rand. This is Rand from this comic. Yeah, so he was really excited by that. I don't know. He asked me.
Billy's a good guy, man. Meeting him in person is like it's like hanging out with the Rat Pack.
Oh, I know.
He's like so cool. I met him and Cecil together, and him and Cecil. I just felt like I was hanging out with Frank Sinatra. You know, it was just so cool.
Cecil's genuinely funny. He's genuinely funny.
Cecil, you know, he plays a character online, but in real life he's a charming guy. He's
a lot of these guys are fine in real life, although
let's address the chat. Let's get everybody going. First off, the news here is that I have I'm launching tonight at 9:00 on I'm launching tonight at 9:15. I'll be on at Michael Bancroft's at 9:00. We got 15 minutes to do some banter and whatever, and then we'll watch it go live. I don't know if I have to push a button. I forget how it works. And then that. I already did my panic calls to Luke Stone, in case anybody's wondering.
Somebody said they were going to do.
I think that's going to be my tradition. The night before I launch, calling Luke Stone in panic. Got that out of the way. Got that out of the system. I'm way ahead of the game this time. I'm more organized. The first time I didn't know what I didn't know. Renzo, the only thing, Renzo was just about to finish the book. I pulled him off to do the cards, because I have a feeling that we might be hitting a couple of stretch goal cards. So I wanted to be prepared. Oscar is coloring those cards. Well, Daniel's going to color 10. Oscar's going to color 10. Oscar's coloring the first 10 because Oscar's a little bit more quicker in responding. Daniel's father is having an open heart surgery.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So understandably, and I was like, and he's like, no, are you firing me? I said, no, I'm not firing you. I just, I was planning on giving you guys 10 and 10 cards each, but Oscar will do the first 10 just because I'm not firing you. In a couple of days.
I'm going to have Stippling Vaughn do all my cards.
And then this is the open invite. I'm going to put a star right here. Of course, this is it's clobbering time.
Please come on. Me and John are going to argue.
Yeah, it's everybody's invited. The more people, the better. I kind of hope Stippling Vaughn comes in, because I heard him saying, because this is inspired by the comic, that Stippling Vaughn was talking. Well, for my last week on
we were talking about. I was remembering about this comic when it came out, and I guess we may as well get into it. Fantastic.
We'll finish. Let me address the chat, then we'll get right.
Oh, sorry, I apologize.
No problem. What geeks do? How do you all? Good luck with your campaign. Thank you. Ben Sabara, you're always in. You're a voice actor, which means you must have a cool voice. So come on in and talk with us. Hail everybody.
Yeah, right.
Old Dirty Fatty, but I'm so gosh darn lovable. I would never fight with you, Old Dirty Fatty. Matter of fact, I raise my coffee cup in your honor and take a big sip. How's that?
At least you have coffee, unlike your.
I made 2 pots because I think I'm going to be late tonight.
That's a lot of coffee, man. You can't be drinking that much coffee.
I know, I'm going to be up till like.
Wow, I'm looking. Well, I'll talk to you about it as soon
And
as
Stippling Vaughn, still need to finish mine. Life in overtime gets annoying. Absolutely. And Stippling, come on in. Or anybody come on in. Dirty Fatty, come on in.
you want
Tree Goblin. I love that name. Yeah, the beard is growing. Yes. Can you believe we were just talking about this at work today? This beard is started in November, right? That's when I took the brace off. Right.
Right. I remember.
Right.
No, I was thinking about it. Came. It's all the way back now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how much longer you want to go.
I'm gonna get it trimmed tomorrow.
Get it shaped.
And I use shea butter beard oil.
I was going to ask you. My friend had a big beard like that. He used beard oil. He doesn't.
Yeah, I did. On my last job, there was 3 guys with the beards. We were known as ZZ Top. There was a steam fitter, and there was not an Alamac, a big, steam shovel.
Right, I know. Yeah, digger. Yeah,
or backhoe. I couldn't think of the word.
We have guys who do that too.
And it was funny because every once in a while, like we would be in the same area, and people would be like, "Yo, ZZ Top," and we would have to pause. But they had such nice beards, and my beard looked like a homeless guy. And they're like, "You got to use shea butter or beard oil." So I got.
Yeah, you got to make it look good.
And the men acknowledge my beard. The women don't sit next to me in the subway, which is exactly what I want. I get my own in the subway. Old Dirty Fatty says, I thought it was a rule that if you organized, in control, demanded that everyone else, you may soundly hated like Jim Shooter. In the comic book world, yes. In the electrical world, it's understood that one guy is the boss and we have to listen to that guy. In the comic book world, the talent thinks they're the superstar, and they may be. Are you going to tell? Well, obviously you're going to tell John Byrne what to do, but like, you got to have a good.
There's a problem with that. I think it's hard.
You know what I mean? Jim Shooter told Larry Hama, "Do what you want. You know what you're doing." Larry Hama said he never had a problem with Jim Shooter. Because Larry Hama ran a tight ship and did everything he needed to do.
Jim Shooter's a nice man.
Yep. Hey, Tree Goblin, Logic Fantasy. Why the cryptic title, Marcus? Always a pleasure, sir. John, good luck.
Thanks.
9 in your next picture. Thank you. Excuse me. Also, that coffee just backed up on me. I hope I'm having a blessed day. I hope my campaign has an even better blessing. I just washed my beard and come in. Yeah, there you go. I live in New York. I got to be like the hipsters, man. I got to have beard oil, So it's not so much a cryptic title. It's just might as well get into it. So on Sunday Comics, I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to do that. There we go. On Sunday Comics, I talked about this particular comic, and I wanted to reserve judgment of what I thought about it. I thought it would be it's clobbering time. So yes, it's clobbering time. It's 2 characters duking it out, but it's more of like a philosophical, logical, theological debate than clobbering time. I mean, let's face it. Reed Richards needed the Deus Ex Machina device, the ultimate nullifier to defeat Galactus. So we all know that Galactus could just shoot some galactic beams and not only kill Reed Richards, but the entire Fantastic Four. The only reason why he doesn't is he was surprised at first, and then after that, he kind of had a respect, and then later on, that evolved into like a begrudging friendship. Right? Just comb my hair. Oh, comb it. Okay. Heroinberg, I don't understand the premise. Guess I'll watch and find out. I just explained it. Did that make sense to everybody? So I'll give everybody a recap because not everybody watches Sunday Comics, and you're missing out. So this is issue 262 of the Fantastic Four. Okay, in it's Assistant Editors Month, so that means they kind of did some goofy stuff.
It really is a terrific comic, though.
It's so good. It's so good.
Like I'm looking at it all big on one of the sites, as you know. I want to go back to that page.
So here, John Byrne drew himself, and he drew his assistant editor inserted. Literally a self-insert into the comic, and then the Watcher shows up and takes John Byrne across the cosmos.
All right, so I like that, John. It looks nice.
And what does he do? Doctor Strange gives us an ad, computers, letters page, and he brings us to the heart of the Shi'ar Empire, where Reed Richards is standing on trial. Because I forget the exact number, but Galactus came to Earth in desperation. And when Galactus loses energy, he's smaller and smaller and smaller, which I think is a great way to explain the discrepancies in his size. Sometimes he's like kaiju size, sometimes he's 20 feet tall. So Galactus was the smallest he's ever been.
I see why he did this.
Comes to Earth, and Reed Richards summons all the superheroes, and they're all fighting Galactus, and Galactus is wearing down, and then Doctor Strange hits him with a spell that makes Galactus feel the collective guilt for eons of murdering people.
And that's in the classic FF 250.
250. No, 250 is the Battle with Gladiator.
The battle, right? Oh, that's right.
And then Galactus succumbs to this overwhelming feeling of guilt that he's been suppressing, collapses, and now they just as he's collapsing, he's slowly shrinking. And everybody's like, let him go. Let Galactus go. Reed Richards says, no, we have to save Galactus. They build up, a magic science harness, give him some energy, and make Galactus promise to never feed off ascension planets again. Galactus obeys or acquiesces and leaves. Well, you just see Galactus. He's wearing like this crazy doodad, and he's sucking energy out of like gas giants. And finally, I forget who it was. Somebody taunted him. And it was just like, the mighty Galactus is doing, and he just was like, went to the Skrull homeworld, destroyed the Skrull homeworld, killed billions of Skrulls, and then Leandra drags Reed Richards to stand trial for the destruction of the Skrull homeworld, just like she did with Jean Grey when she destroyed the Dabari planet. Is everybody up to speed? Everybody up to speed? I'll give you guys a second to comment on that. That was a big info dump. What do you think? Well, not about this yet. Anything you want to say before we proceed?
I'm looking at the comic now to get reminded, and it doesn't quite like I know what you're. I think yeah. Well, I think it was a really for a regular size comic. That's a lot of stuff going on. Now I'm looking at it. Great looking aliens.
There's a typo. It says Mr. Fantastic versus Reed Richards. Well, it meant to say Reed Fantastic versus Galactus. I don't think I can edit it right now, but I'll edit it when we're done. Oh, I can edit it. Okay, cool. So I'm just gonna pull this camera down while I edit this. So we'll talk about that for a second. What do you guys think? Anybody familiar with the comic? Is this anybody's first time with the comic?
Oh, I'm familiar with this comic. I see.
It's not letting me edit.
Oh, my favorite.
Okay, I could edit that. Okay, so Herwenberg, did that it's not letting me edit anything. Yeah, I can't edit while it's live.
Well, we could change. You could change it later.
I'll change it afterwards. I hope people understand that I'm a crazy old man who's broke his glasses today, and
you're not as old as I am, so you're young. You're a spring chicken.
I wish. I
just don't wear glasses.
Yeah, but Lita survives, so some good kid. Yeah, everybody likes Lita. Everybody likes a Skrull girlfriend, because then every night you got a different girlfriend, right? Look like Sydney Sweeney tonight, honey. Would you think they'll get mad after a while, like if you had a Skrull girlfriend, and she got a job, she's working at the supermarket.
I don't know.
That's a
controversial running into itself.
You go to pick your wife Lita up at the office, and like her coworker that annoys her, that's Barbara. Barbara said, "Can you look like Barbara tonight?"
That's funny.
Hey, Kevin, did you draw that Batman? That is awesome. That kind of looks like that Batman looks like Neil Adams' Batman and Jim Apato's Batman were merged.
I criticized Jim Aparo, and I almost got in trouble.
Jim, how did I not read this before? I'm ashamed. It's
really good comic. I'm seeing your problems with it from Sunday Comics. By the way, see, I watch Sunday Comics, so I'm ahead of the game.
Okay,
and I understand what you're saying, but the decision wasn't. Well, we have to get into it.
Zach Tan is already jumping ahead of me. Omnipote, a typo. Yep, it's more than just a typo. I mean, a typo is if I wrote like Reed Blichards.
I can't wait to your next comic. That's going to have some awesome typos. I can't wait.
I actually got an editor this time around. So
did you got is what's her Val doing it?
Who?
Val.
Ali Sanglis is gonna be.
Oh, Ali! I thought you were asking Val.
I don't know who Val is. Even if he's
Oh,
just
you have Val Dioser on your show.
Woman would love to change their look at will. I'll ask my wife that time. What would you do? Would shape changing be a curse or a blessing? I don't know. Anyway, we're off the top because the whole I put this Reed Richards versus Mr. Fantastic. I'm so mad at myself. But anyway, so we got here. The Watcher is basically acting as like attorney for Galactus. We got John Byrne here, who is in the Marvel comics. The comic books are legal documents. If you read the She-Hulk series, they have every Marvel comic locked up in like a metallic box for legal precedents and things like that. So I just think that's a funny little thing that in the world of Marvel comics, the Marvel comics are considered true documents of the superhero, which begs to wonder how. So everybody in the Marvel universe knows Spider-Man is Peter Parker.
But I think that was only tied to the Fantastic Four way back in early on, and I think like Byrne likes everything going back to the beginning, so he really linked that. He played that up big time. Where I have to find out they didn't send me a story this week,
right?
So I'm not sure. I don't know if that goes for every character. I know it goes for the Fantastic Four, probably the Avengers, right?
I guess the Avengers, right? Because they're like a government.
Ones with heavy secret identity have Avengers that involve secret identities. I don't know. Or they're just two superheroes in the comics.
Did they do?
It's only Spider-Man, no Peter Parker.
Did they do I have a vague memory of a fifth week event where it was supposed to be the actual Marvel comics that were coming out in the Marvel universe. Now, am I remembering that or am I making that up?
I think I don't remember that. It sounds like they did it though. I know exactly what you're saying. We should ask Grok.
Yeah, ask Grok. Grok is Grok is my favorite new toy, by the way.
Well, he's better than Google. Google just comes up with ads. You don't get anything out of Google anymore.
Yeah, Google's the worst. And Facebook is unusable.
Well, I don't use Facebook. I'm the only social media I'm on is this and Pinterest. I mean, YouTube, Pinterest, and X. That's it.
Missed this issue on the Burn Run, but happy to catch up. Meanwhile, I'll be green with envy if anyone had a scroll. 176 with the Impossible Man.
Oh, so he's like, that's a good one.
That's a good one too. Yeah. That's a good. I got a.
That has all the self. Perez is in that one. Marv Wolfman's in that one. Len Wein's in that one. They're all John Putin. They're all because he went to the Marvel bullpen in that one.
Right. And John Putin, I remember, is like a giant. Like
they said he really was a giant.
Yeah, he's a big guy. RRTNZ says, I love the story, but always felt there was something missing in Galactus's raison d'etre. How's that for my horrible French? Help him. He spoke French. That if he was even dropped below a certain age, that he became a black hole that ate the universe. I'm going to not comment on all this stuff until we actually get into the meat and bones of this, because there's a lot of good stuff being brought up. It's very possible that Holden Holloway, the head of She-Hulk's law firm, knows every secret of the Marvel unit since he's the key to the archive. That would make him a low-key, extremely powerful. Yeah, or an information broker. That's a good idea. Kirby.
Kirby did that cover.
I thought he was just yelling Kirby like a.
I do that in the middle of the night.
I love Bert's run, but it was a repeat of Kirby. Why I prefer Pearl, vastly different than it. I make no bones about it. I quit the Fantastic Four after the first John Byrne issue. 236. I was just like, I can't take this abrupt change. I
loved all that. I love the change. I knew Byrne was coming, what he was coming to do.
But I went back. I think I lasted 3 months quitting the Fantastic Four. And then I went back, and it's one of my favorite runs of all time. And the Paul Ryan, Tom DeFalco run, I quit. And I quit for years. And I went back and read it. And then I bought issues, but I don't know why. I missed like 8 issues. So I was like, this series makes no sense. And then I was like, I'm missing 8. And then I just recently reread it, and it was freaking awesome.
Well, awesome. Paul Ryan was a very good artist, but it gets that 90s thing. Sue's wearing a cutout, and she looks like Sydney Sweeney, and
right.
And she's striding. It got all to that 90s thing, but it wasn't quite all the way. And it was still it was just kind of a strange thing. And upon reread, there was a lot of good concepts.
Right.
And, DeFalco gets killed for that, but people love his Thor run.
I reread it. Then that's why I invited him on the channel and wanted to talk about it. I thought it was so good. I wouldn't mind if AI came in a cute little robot form. That's why I always say please to Grok and thank you to Grok. When it becomes sentient, I want it to remember that I was nice. Jack says, why not make up stories? Stan thinks he's nuts. Blasphemy! Anyway, so I hope everybody's caught up. So, Leandra warned Reed. She sent like a holographic projection into Reed and Sue's bedroom while they were making the lovey-doveys and said, what you did, you released Galactus. You are responsible if he destroys a sentient world. And then lo and behold, Galactus destroyed the Skrull homeworld. So now they abducted Reed Richards and they're standing trial. I guess they don't know the Shi'ar law. They could have invoked that unpronounceable thing that Charles Xavier said and had a trial by combat, but they didn't. I think Reed ultimately wanted to logic his way out of it rather than battle his way out of it. So now Johnny and Ben and Sue and John Byrne are the human witnesses to the trial of Reed Richards. There we go.
They didn't have a problem with Byrne being in it. Like, I wasn't annoyed by that stuff at that time. They didn't do it a whole lot.
No.
And he fit into the story pretty well.
The only thing that bothered me was right here. Johnny Storm starts to talk. Johnny Storm starts to say something, and he dismisses the Human Torch. It's
that's not probably that. Well, that's John Byrne for you.
And he talks to his favorite character is Sue Storm, so he just Mrs. Richards like, shut up, Johnny. Like, who is John Byrne to talk about to talk down to the Human Torch? This guy's a freaking hero, like him or not. He's my least favorite member of the Fantastic Four, but
he's still a member of the
give him the respect that he deserves. And there we go. Okay, so now
I like the way he draws a thing all really wide, but not that tall.
Right.
These days they draw the thing. There's terrific drawings of the thing, but you think he was 8 feet tall with it,
Right.
And this is what Kirby wants. Reed is taller than
right. Reed is the tallest. Look, he's a little bit shorter than Sue.
Right. Well, Sue's got to be about 5'10", right?
Right. And Ben is the shortest member of the Fantastic Four, according to Jack.
I wonder what he was stats in. I forgot his stats in a Marvel Universe.
But here they're catching us up that Leandra, invaded their lovey-dovey time, and that arrogant witch, John Byrne. You don't call the leader of a galactic empire an arrogant witch.
In their home world.
Yeah, in front of their home
world. Well, there's John Byrne. John Byrne is writing himself correctly.
And now the Skrull is talking about what happened. Nova came, Galactus ate, so destroyed the Skrull homeworld, and everybody died. And of course, the Skrulls are an empire amongst themselves. So of course, there's billions of Skrulls that still live.
There's plenty of Skrulls left over.
He destroyed a Skrull world with billions of souls on it. And here's Reed, looking ashamed. Empress Leandra, she's torn because she likes Reed Richards, but she has a duty, duty to do. And now we have all, if this was the 80s, it would be a montage. All of these aliens are giving their stories about their homeworlds getting destroyed by Galactus. And Reed is just sitting there. It's very definition of a struggle session,
It is. It's not really a trial,
Yeah, they're pretty. It's a kangaroo court.
Well, it's not really right. It's not really a trial because, first of all, Byrne didn't double the issue. Second, he can't really do it like an Earth trial, It's not an Earth trial. It's this weird trial with all these characters.
Yeah, Byrne was 40 pounds lighter and had all of his hair in this issue. Yeah, well, if I had the ability to draw and I was going to put myself in, I would look like the patriarch.
I put myself into one of the comics, and I was all muscular, and
there you go.
Well, I was in better shape than I am now, but back then.
I love Byrne's run on the FF. I left when he did. DeFalco didn't really work for me. Byrne did retreat a lot of Kirby's ideas, but with his own spin. Yeah, Byrne worshipped, Kirby and even when he did Spider-Man,
he loved all that. Yeah,
he went back to the Ditko and Stan Lee. Yeah, the thing is supposed to be under 6 feet. Absolutely. The trial by combat in the Shi'ar Empire is called Aaron and Halar. That's even worse than Kun Cal Fe. Cue the Star Trek compact. Yeah, that's my favorite Star Trek episode. Amok Time.
Yeah, I love that episode.
Yeah, Reed is stretching more than one use of that word. Byrne also does the cameo in the X-Men Chaos in Canada issue where they fight. Yes, it's him, Chris Claremont, and Len Wein, and I think Glynis Wein is also. This is a little bit of a comic book Easter egg thing, but whenever they do a close up on a crowd scene and it's not just generic people, like these are distinct. It's bullpenners, just a little in joke. Leandra, did I say it wrong? Probably did. My combat. The thing is 5'3" taller than Wolverine. Wow, he's that short. I didn't think he was that.
He's that short.
I know he's the shortest member of the Fantastic Four, but I didn't. But is Ben Grimm that short too, or does he shrink when he becomes the Thing? Like he becomes more compact.
Well, he was a football player,
right? Not a basketball player though. So now the Watcher is, and whoever a bunch of people said that John Byrne just copies Kirby. Well, this is a direct copy of Kirby. He's drawn the Watcher like his early Alien appearance.
He went back to the thin Watcher. What's really interesting to me is that Byrne went all the way back because by the middle, when Kirby was really rolling, the Watcher was big. Reed Richards was really big and muscular. Like this is way back when that was the shock. I asked Rock, and he said Ben Grimm is around 6 feet when he's in human form. But he goes to 7'6". This is the modern. That's not original. That is not the original thing.
Right.
In How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way, he literally is shorter. You were drawing him shorter.
Right. So this is John Byrne pretty much mirroring Kirby. What does he do? In the first Galactus story, the Watcher sends the Torch on a quest to get the ultimate nullifier. As much as I love the first appearance of Galactus, the Galactus trilogy, it is such a milestone. It is the worst ending. We just literally get the day and chase them. Like we made the bad guy so powerful. They went to the same library that Eric the Guapo went to, the Library of Myanus, and pulled something out of the Library of Myanus.
How many times in comics has that really happened before? Like that was like they never wrote themselves into that kind of corner before.
A
little bit of a defense, and also that issue, like many of the 3-issue first, it ended in the middle of the issue, and then they started the next story for the rest of the issue with Wyatt Wingfoot.
Right.
Yeah, they didn't even last 3 issues. This would be like a 12-issue maxi series crossover. Yeah. You'd have to buy 75 comics and cost $100,000.
Yeah, and then Galactus would be gay.
Well, we don't know he's not gay. Galactus is Galactus.
Right. So Kirby was short. Ben is Kirby. Yes, that's what I always thought. Ben, as far as I know, Jack Kirby said that he modeled Ben Grimm after his uncle Benjamin, his grandfather Benjamin. And
Jack Kirby was not tall. He
was a small scrapper. John and Marcus, you are truly from the same tribe as me. Amok Time is my favorite Star Trek episode too. It's second only to Wrath of Khan as far as that music. I have that music on my phone when we play role playing games, and when the fights break out, I hit play, and it's da 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 da.
That's great.
Anyway, so the Watcher sends Johnny Storm out. I'm doing a fast recap because recap of this comic I already did on Sunday Comics. So John Byrne is talking to the Watcher. The Watcher is, addressing him so arrogant. And now we have John Byrne, Reed Richards defending himself. How do you plead? He says, I'm guilty.
They would never. Mike Barron.
Reed is like, Sue was like, Reed, what are you doing? And she's like, calm down. Reed's got a trick up. He's like, you're asking me, did I save Galactus's life? I obviously did. It's a matter of record. To deny it would be a logical fallacy. It's not true. I saved his life. But the real question is that a crime to save Galactus's life? He goes, the trial is not, did I save Galactus's life? The trial is, should I have saved Galactus? So Reed's correcting their logic. Logic finest. This is to you. And what does he do? He talks about, I'm just going to read this verbatim. I need to turn the light
Mike Barron would kill you, though. That's a lot of words.
When Galactus first came to Earth all those long years ago, we were told by the Watcher that he was not evil, that Galactus is in fact beyond good and evil, which is a statement which has long troubled me. For if a being that is truly neither good nor evil, then by definition he must be neutral. Yet clearly Galactus is not a neutral being. With increasing frequency, I like that they say with increasing frequency because, it seems like every third issue Galactus is destroying another planet. With increasing frequency, he feeds upon the life essences of whole planets, and should those planets prove to be inhabited, the effect is catastrophic to say the least. How can any rational man judge this as neutral? Okay, so now we're in logic. Logic phonics, this is for you. Albert Einstein once said that God does not play at dice, meaning that there's an order to things in our universe. But it does not require any belief in any supreme being to realize that Galactus must somehow be part of the order, and I suspect an important part. Okay, and again, I'm reading this verbatim because I want to go into the philosophy of this and the logic of this. If he's truly to be considered neutral, then the apparent evil of his actions must end result not be evil, and so play the greater part of some good. I cannot believe that he would be allowed to exist if this were not the case. And then Leandra, I'm trying to keep my opinions to myself right now. Is that your defense, Reed Richards? A child's game of arithmetic? Then where is your proof? Proof that the deaths of uncounted billions work towards a greater good. Unfortunately, I don't have the proof. Just logic and faith. And then the Watcher sent Human Torch to bring back Odin. So holy free hole. I could see John Byrne getting flabbergasted at Odin, and everybody. Do you recognize Odin? And Empress
Storm got flabbergasted by Odin.
Yeah, and Empress Leandra was like, yes, we recognize him. And what does Galactus do? He tells the story of Galactus. I mean, what does Odin do? He tells us the story of Galactus. How he was once Galen of Ta'a before they believe in the oscillating universe theory. The Big Bang expands and then it slowly contracts. So Galen of Ta was from the previous contraction of the universe. He survived. All matter passed through him. He went into this cosmic egg, and then he emerged. He emerged Galactus. Okay, I'm purposely ignoring the chat. He emerged Galactus, and this is what he says. Thus, he was born into a new universe, a new natural force, like the solar wind, like the supernova, like the rolling seas that tested the young worshippers, like the rolling seas worshipped our young Viking worshippers and made them strong. Such is the function of Galactus. To save to each world that he comes, it is a test. And if they pass that test, he's strengthening the universe. If they fail that test, they're being weeded out. He goes, and that so speaks Odin. Yay, we win. They're all happy and everything like that. And now this is their trial thing. This is everybody, all these millions of people watching. Yes, millions of people are watching. As they vote innocent, they turn white. And when all the globes turn white, reads innocent. So a lot of them are like, what? And then all of a sudden, Nova shows up, boom, and blows it up, and Galactus shows up. So Galactus is here on the Shi'ar homeworld. You can imagine the poops that are being let loose from the library of El Guapo's Mayanes. Mm-hmm. This is my favorite page, one of my favorite pages in all of Marvel Comics. So here's Galactus in his infinite majesty, towering at full power at the heart of the Shi'ar Empire. And then each one of these boxes is how each individual race perceives Galactus. They say that the light hits him, refracts, and it is interpreted by each brain in a way that alien race could understand him. So Galactus doesn't look like a purple humanoid, in a crazy purple and pink outfit. He looks like this. He looks like that. Galactus is above mere appearance. I thought that was so cool. That's one of those touches that I just love about John Byrne. And then we got more ads. And then this is another page. This alien is like, oh my God, this is my opportunity. He killed my homeworld. And he lands on Galactus. He's going to drill into his helmet and put a molecular bomb that's going to kill Galactus, destroy him molecule by molecule. But he's like, Galactus isn't even acknowledging me. Does he know I exist? Does he know that I'm going to fail? And if I do fail, and he psychs himself out. Galactus defeated this guy just by his mere presence, And now so Galactus and him are talking about Galactus is just like, he's the one person in the world I call a friend, and Leandra's like, you call him a friend? You just doomed him. That doesn't help his case, calling him a friend. So now the Watcher and Galactus hold the hands, and Eternity shows up.
I drew Eternity once,
and I love the concept of Eternity.
Yeah, I love drawing him. It was great. And then a guy, I drew him and I posted it on Comic Art Fans with Doctor Strange in front of it. It's in my timeline somewhere. And then a guy from France contacted me to do a 20 by 30 Just Eternity, and then I sold them both of them.
So Galactus refers to Eternity as father.
That was interesting.
He says, there are things that are known to me, Galactus, and mortal life hangs in the balance because the truth is doubted. But then let's look at the ancient books open. Let the minds of mortals have knowledge of the unknowable. Let the cosmic truth be told. So Eternity opens up all millions of minds, and they're told a cosmic truth that we're not told. And they see the truth, the purpose of Galactus. And then the next page, John Byrne wakes up in his lab and he's telling him this, and this guy's like, "That's the worst ending to a story ever."
Right?
We don't know the ending, and it's like, no. And then the Watcher says, "Write this down in the comic, let people know." And Reed Richards was innocent and went free. So that's a fast recap of the comic. There's little subtleties that I may have missed. So I can take the comic away. I will put that back up here. What happened? Okay. I must have messed with the doozy Watson. So what do you guys think? Before I say anything, does anybody want to come in and argue for Reed Richards? Does anybody want to come in and argue for Galactus? So, Marcus, anything that I forget? Anything?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. I'm scrolling up. I was purposely ignoring the comments while I was reading that. Okay. Yay, you gay Galactus. Galactus. There you go. I'm surprised they don't have a Marvel Galactus. I've got an angle. What was that? That was a heavy metal, right? Stern. For me, it was Darmok, but Amok Time is up there for sure. Everybody loves that one. Reed Richards is Mr. Yeah, I know. I wrote the wrong thing, Nick. I wrote the wrong thing. I like that Galactus needs to exist as a balance of the Celestials. That is later. That is later. Bears survive so elk do not overbreed and eat all the foliage. Okay, that's interesting. Reed was wrong to save him. It's not a choice he should have made. A deadly force of nature was dying. Let the nature take its course. Instead, he doomed the next planets. If he did that, Kevin, the Celestials would have multiplied out of control, threatening the whole universe. You realize that Reed has directly admitted he believes in God. Yep.
Well,
if you define Galactus earlier force of nature, he's definitely neither good nor evil. Hi, Marcus. You got a fan, Marcus. My favorite Star Trek episode is Balance of Terror. That's a great one. In a lot of ways, it's unlike any other episode because it's written. Yeah, it was a submarine war movie.
Mm-hmm.
The hot Frankie Nova was the herald of Galactus during this period. Yeah. I can't remember when she stopped being the herald of Galactus. And who was after her? Who was the immediate predecessor to Frankie Ray? Maybe, but we didn't know it yet.
Tyrax was before Nova.
Mistrial?
Firelord was before Tyrax.
Right.
Gabriel the Airwalker was before Firelord. I forget who's after.
Man, this kind of epic writing was something that Byrne could pull off. It's completely lost art today, except for Heroic Tales, of course. Thank you.
If John wrote that many in the Word Balloons, I don't know.
I appreciate everybody with the compliments, but I got to earn it. I know my writing is the weakest part of the comic. You can't say anything about those colors, those letters, or Renzo's artwork, but I'm the weak link, and I'm trying to do better. Next issue is better, and that's my striving. Every issue to be better and better. But thank you. And yes, I'm going to say something controversial. Maybe we should do a clobbering time. Who's a better writer, Chris Claremont or John Byrne? I really like the Enterprise incident. Let this be your last battle. Blink of an eye. And the Cage. The Cage is awesome. Where is Galactica, the daughter of Galactus? She was a couple of comics. Yeah. She didn't have a mom. Galactus just butted off somebody like a.
The problem.
I wish I could
with these
for a Welsh culture event. You're doing the Lord's work here, celebrating comic. Thank you. I'm with Reed. I would have saved him too. Okay. All right. So, Marcus, what were you going to say?
I was saying the problem with these characters and memories of I'm old, so I remember this comic. And I remember the stuff that came before this comic. But the newer stuff that they've done with Galactus, say in the last 10, 15 years, I have no idea. And the issue is these characters have now been around so long that they've been pushed and pulled. Forget all the gender stuff, but just generally pushed and pulled like taffy. We have different. What's a different canon? Oh, he's a daughter. Oh, okay. That type of thing. But I was thinking about, you were talking about the decision was really made by Eternity. Nobody else really was. The Watcher was pushing around the proceedings, which a Watcher's not supposed to do, right? That's the problem. And he brought in Odin to tell the story of Galactus. Since that happened, that was the callback, because somehow Galactus' origin was in Thor, not in the Fantastic Four. So, but they like the idea of who was on trial. The people, they just zoomed everybody's heads, and millions of billions of people in the galaxy all decided. We as a group, 5 people can't decide. Who wants to go to Burgers? 3 people say yes, and 2 people want to get pizza.
Yeah, I guarantee if my wife and myself and Marcus' wife, we wouldn't be able to decide on dinner.
I'll eat anything. I think that's clear. But
me and you, it'll be your wife and my wife picking. I don't want Chick-fil-A.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So the whole thing doesn't really. You were arguing about Odin, and I was thinking Odin was a bigger celestial being, and I might have been wrong. I think that at times he is, and times he isn't. It's just like everything else. But Byrne wrote him as the head of Asgard, and that's it. And he looked really Asgardian too. Like that was a real Kirby, like even. And he just told the story of Galactus. I guess that's why he couldn't bring in Zeus,
Yeah, I loved the way as a kid I was so excited when I saw Odin show up, drawn by John Byrne.
Yeah, he did a great job. He did, yeah.
John Byrne,
like this. I think I remember the controversy at the time is the same controversy we're going to end up talking about. Galactus is neither good or evil. He's a force of nature, and there has to be a Galactus to make sure, I don't know, planets die or something, Yeah, and that was a controversy at that time. If you had like Comic Buyer's Guide or anything like that, like there's no internet at that time.
So I'm giving everybody time to mull. Does anybody want to come in and argue? I don't know.
RR has something. Who remembers the Hercules Limited series? He tries to defeat Galactus by getting him drunk. I remember that really well. And this comes about a year after that. And Byrne would get really angry at other creators who did stupid things with the characters. And I'm sure this is an answer to Bob Layton getting Galactus drunk, because he probably didn't think it was too funny.
But Galactus didn't get drunk, if you remember. He pretended he was goofy.
Right, but the whole idea of it, like that's not something Byrne would
he made
Galactus
He
would not let that happen.
Galactus was amused that Hercules thought that he would get drunk, the classic Doctor Who, when he could have killed all the Daleks. But how many times did they kill all the Daleks and they're back anyway? There is no continuity in Doctor Who. It's one of the things that my wife makes fun of me for, because I get so mad at Doctor Who. The Brits don't care about continuity,
No, there's not a whole lot of continuity in Judge Dredd either, by the way.
They interfered. They should have not have interfered. Don't kill, don't save, no heroic measures for the Devourer of Worlds.
Well, if you're Reed Richards and you're a superhero, you're better than I am. Your morals as Captain America, Reed Richards, Superman, Batman, even Batman, like no kill. Everybody wants them to kill because we're so debased as a society. His thing is, it's a living being. I'm not killing him. I'm not letting him die. Okay. I can't let him die. It's like the Hippocratic Oath.
All right, so I'm going to get into it now.
I'm not saying he was right. I'm just saying that's how he feels.
I'm going to get into it now. First off, my first problem with the story is the Watcher. In the very first appearance of Galactus, the Watcher interferes.
Right.
He gets the ultimate. He tells Johnny Storm to get the ultimate nullifier. So Galactus was going to defeat the Earth, destroy the Earth, if not for the interference of the Watcher. So the Watcher interfered in the natural order of events. If Galactus is a force of nature, then the Watcher should be on trial. So to me, I was always mad. I'm like, this is the Watcher's trial.
Right.
I think the reason the Watcher is trying so hard is because ultimately this is his fault.
he interfered first. Earth should have been destroyed. Reed Richards never would have been able to save Galactus. Galactus would have died because there would have been no Reed. You know what I mean? For whatever amount of time exists in the Marvel universe from Fantastic Four 50 to Fantastic Four 262, Galactus still would have died because it wasn't Reed Richards' fault. You know what I mean? So, Galactus would have destroyed the Earth, encountered whatever it was, the starvation, and then, maybe whatever. But you know what I mean. So this is really the Watcher's fault. So I always found that to be a little disingenuous. And then the Watcher just proclaims him a force of nature. This is an argument from authority. He doesn't prove it. He doesn't back up the claims. It's just an argument from authority. All right, I'm John Boa. I got John's long box. I'm going to make a claim about comic books because I got 58,000 comic books, but I don't back it up. Nobody, especially on the internet, especially in my chat, is not going to just accept me as an authority on comic books. No, that's Spawn's green. Spawn's green, guys. I got 58,000 comic books. Spawn's green. I got to back that up, and they just say. And another thing they say is Reed Richards himself says, if Galactus, if he exists, I refuse to believe that he doesn't exist for a reason. Okay, so then we shouldn't cure AIDS. AIDS exists for a reason. Cancer exists. If it exists, it has to be good. So then Mephisto is good. Dr. Doom is good because these people all exist. I thought it was just a lame, like she said, a child's game of arithmetic. So this is what I want to say then. If we have this powerful being that exists by destroying planets, and it's neither good nor evil, is Dark Phoenix. Why did she try? Dark Phoenix is the same thing. The Phoenix Force, because the Phoenix Force is this cosmic entity. It's part of nature. It's not good nor bad. They're just saying that all bad guys, they exist, so therefore they have the right. I'm real curious what Logic Finest is going to have to say.
I don't think they thought about it as deep as that.
Right.
I think at a monthly big, he's kind of figure, this is a great idea. What am I going to do? And it was interesting that it's almost thinking, and you said the Phoenix Force. What's interesting too, you could think of Byrne doing this as an answer to the death of Phoenix, where they had to kill Jean Grey. But that was before we knew that there was a separate force, you see.
Right. Jean Grey
they killed Jean Grey because she killed the whole building because Shooter wanted her to get retribution. So what would happen to the Reed Richards who let a killer of worlds, an eater, a devourer of worlds live?
So is it a coincidence that he did it when Jim Shooter wasn't the editor?
Well, was he not the?
It was assistant editors month.
Yeah, but I don't believe that.
Yeah, I know. I don't believe it either.
I mean, no, they just did goofy stuff.
Now I'm looking at the credits, but yeah, Jim Shooter was the editor in chief, so he.
No, it went through. I think Shooter liked it because this is exactly what Shooter wants. It's the retribution. It's answering for what you did. This is what he wanted happening to the Phoenix, to Jean Grey. Now we know it's a Phoenix Force after, but they didn't think of this Phoenix Force at this time.
Does the world taste like chicken?
Depends on the whole thing about Galactus devouring worlds. If he's calling the weak worlds, what makes Earth the weak world? Well, it's one of the few worlds that have like this bustling economies and different countries, and even where our TNZ lives in the middle of the Hobbit world. I mean, what made Earth a weak one? I mean, before the Celestials can say,
All right, look, there's a lot of comments. Let me adjust the comments. Well, RR. See, the problem with RRZ is he's on the bottom of the world. He's a little dizzy.
I like how he's always outside.
Yeah. Well, it's tomorrow here. Well, I just brought the dog back. I can only stay a few minutes because I have to go run a Welsh cultural event. Go ahead. But I am here. I am here appearing. Because I just want to comment on the trial procedure elements, because I had a short career as a criminal lawyer. So I just like to say that the real problem with the Watcher's appearance here is he's acting both as defense counsel and as a witness. No, as a criminal lawyer, not a criminal. But anyway, yeah, so the Watcher's problem here is both defense counsel and as sort of
You
a
re-
sort of a
Stop.
yeah an impropriety. Sorry, I lost the signal there. Yeah, it's an impropriety. Sorry.
Yeah. All we got was robot noises. So.
Oh no.
Yeah. So.
It's because I'm in the future. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right.
So
I better sit down.
Repeat what you said.
Right. Sorry. So the problem with the Watcher in this issue, from a procedural point of view, is that he is appearing essentially as Reed Richards' defense counsel, but at the same time he's also leading evidence himself. Right. So he's overstepped his role, and a lawyer cannot lead evidence from the bar. That is for the witness to do, right? But the Watcher is much better witness than he is a counsel, to be honest, because he's observed the cosmos for untold eons. So if anyone's qualified to say, given his view of time and space, which goes far beyond anything anyone else can conceive of, if anyone's qualified to say Galactus is a force of nature, I think that the Watcher has that qualification. He's an expert witness. So I'm going to disagree with you there, John.
Okay. I don't know. I also see it as a conflict of interest. The Watcher,
it is. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and the Watchers are also fallible. Did they not destroy a whole civilization because of their interference? You know what I mean? I don't, just because I see a lot of stuff. All right. I don't know. I view the Watcher as a conflict of interest and an argument from authority. But you say you would accept him
as an expert witness. I mean, that's that you describe this as a struggle session. Actually, I disagree with that characterization of the trial, because all of those people, right, they're establishing Reed Richards' guilt by proxy because they are witnesses. They are witnesses to the destruction of their own civilization by Galactus, right? So in that light, they can provide evidence. Well, this is the harm and the suffering that has been caused by Galactus, and then Reed Richards is at least an accessory. Well, and he's not really accessory after the fact. In some cases he is, but in other cases he would be assisting. The concept in criminal law of assistance, when you render assistance to someone who's perpetrating a crime. So he would have a degree of party liability, I would think.
Okay. I got another question then.
Yep.
After the trial of Reed Richards, should there be the trial of the Watchers for what they did to that civilization that they destroyed?
I'm going to answer that in a very unsatisfactory manner, and I'm going to use an analogy. Are you ready?
Okay.
Great. Because you, Marcus, myself, and Logic's Finest, and everybody else in the chat, we're uber nerds, so we all are aware of Star Trek Next Generation, yeah?
Right.
You know the episode they come to the planet where everything's been destroyed but one house?
Right.
And it turns out that the old man who lives in the house is not an old man.
Right.
He is a infinitely powerful being, like probably beyond, like at least the level of Q, maybe beyond. He's this godlike being, and he has committed complete genocide. Like the species that bombed the planet, he didn't stop them because he's a pacifist, but he was so enraged that they had killed his wife that he obliterated the entire species everywhere, like all at once. He had that kind of power. And Picard says, I don't have the right to judge you. And in the same vein, by analogy, I don't think anyone except Eternity himself would have the authority and the scope and the understanding to judge the Watcher. Right? There's we believe our courts are run by, true or not, by people of logic and intellect and reason that is beyond the average person, right? That they represent the law. Very theoretically, right? Well, no. The jury is the common man. Yeah, that is the conscience of the community. But the judge who conducts the trial is above that. That's why the bench is raised, right? So my answer to you, John, is maybe, but who would conduct it, right? Yeah, Eternity of the Living Tribunal will be the only entities in the Marvel Universe who could do that. Even the Celestials really aren't qualified. So that would be, so I guess this is what we call a jurisdictional argument. Who has jurisdiction over the Watcher?
I totally do not buy that. Basically, you say the weaker have no right to judge the stronger.
Well, no,
So
it's
we could invade
jurisdiction is
Cameroon.
more than that.
We could invade Cameroon, and Cameroon's like, well, who are we to judge the actions of the United States? They're more powerful than us. Any thinking person with logic and reason has the right to argue and defend and judge somebody else. That's the whole point of wisdom and logic.
Well, I'm going to disagree with you.
My whole point
Dad.
with this whole trial was arguments of authority, like Odin. Why does Leandra recognize a parochial sky deity from Earth? Nowhere in the Marvel universe did they say that Odin controlled vast empires and was revered by the Dabari and the Squall and the Kree. You know, is Zeus, is Quetzalcoatl? You know, like Odin is a pompous, cool character, but you know,
But he was there to talk about the origins of Galactus.
Yeah, but why would Leandra even know who he was?
That is a story point. Maybe the Asgardians are they're a celestial species, but you realize, John, that argument that Odin's voice carried a lot of force in that court, as did the Watchers, actually goes with me on the jurisdictional issue. Because the thing is, what you're saying is, can the weak judge the strong? Well, I see what you're saying there, but we're all on the same level as humans. We're all on the same level. Whereas beings like Galactus, the Living Tribunal, Eternity, are on a scope far, far beyond us. Tangent, one of the things I hated about the Eternals film, like everyone else, is that the Eternals rebel against the Celestials, beings that are billions of years older and have a much greater understanding of the workings of the universe, right? Like that's what I'm saying about jurisdiction, right? Judge Galactus. I mean, Reed Richards is an exception because he's the smartest human alive, right? He's beyond the rest of humanity.
Logic, of course, always has a good point. Yeah, I could judge, Cameroon can judge the United States, but good luck in enforcing that judgment. Yeah. But
absolutely. No, you're right.
I have the right to judge anybody I want. That's what the brain does. The brain is a judgment machine. Like, I hate when people say, don't judge me. I'm like, too late. I freaking judged you because I'm a human being with the mind. It happens instantaneously. We don't have the scope, knowledge, morality to judge other high races. Neither do the shark.
I agree with that. I don't think Leandra does either. But it's a great argument to make, like both backwards and forwards.
This argument. This is a fun argument. Like if sheep became sentient, they would declare us evil.
Oh God, they would. Well,
and I would agree with them. In their perspective, we are evil, and we would have to stomp down our sheep terrorists. But I would be like, yeah, well, I totally understand. I see their point, but same with hogs or cows. Cows have it the worst. But to say
chickens,
that we are above the morality of a sentient cow is kind of arrogant. Yeah. I agree with this statement. That's about as real political as I want to get. But okay, so let's take Odin's argument that Galactus is a test. Okay, so it's a test. Well, we failed the test. It's just that the Watcher's intervention caused us to pass the test with the ultimate nullifier. So again, this kicks it back to the Watcher should be on trial, not Reed Richards. Then it says Galactus is going to continue until a world defeats him. A world did defeat him. Earth. Reed Richards had to save him. By definition, Galactus was defeated. Doctor Strange one-shotted him with the guilt, and he collapsed. And he defeated him. So by everybody's argument, we have the right to do what we want with Galactus. You know what I mean? Like he
the ultimate guilt trip.
Right. Yeah. Next thing, Eternity comes up and just waves his hand and doesn't explain anything, doesn't tell us. This is the ultimate argument from authority. Like I still
take my word for it.
Right, take my word. Did he mind control everybody? Did he take away everybody's free will? Did he impart a judgment that we don't know that. I can't accept that Eternity just waved his little fingers around and everybody agreed. That, like Marcus said, our wives can't even decide what they want for dinner. And now millions of disparate, sentient, thinking, rational beings all of a sudden come to the same conclusion.
Hang on.
Hang
on. He didn't, unless I misinterpreted the text, did not he then open their minds to the same...
RR. I love that we refer to a comic book as the text.
Well, we're arguing by analogy and from example. We're arguing from precedent. That's what you're doing. You're making an argument from precedent, and it's a good precedent you raised too. The Jack Kirby story. It's a very good precedent. But here's the thing: isn't in the moment where eternity opens everyone's minds, doesn't he allow them to achieve a new level of understanding? And yeah, you're right. Ordinarily, as separate beings, we can't agree on anything. But because in that moment he allows them all to take a new perspective, to see the universe differently, that allows them to reach the consensus. That's my take. I'm not arguing from authority. That's just how I interpret that event.
Oh, Dirty Fatty puts, trust me, bros. So it's obvious that I think Reed Richards is wrong, which really pains me because Reed Richards is one of my favorite characters.
But what would you let him die? Do you think that Reed Richards could let a living being die like that?
See that?
It's not killing him in battle.
I'm going to talk about my conclusions. But the argument that Galactus is a force of nature. Okay, so therefore, okay, all right. So you want to say Galactus is a force of nature? Well, a force of nature doesn't get saved by a human being. Tornadoes don't get saved by human beings. A hurricane, an earthquake doesn't get saved by a human being. A supernova doesn't need a human being.
Very specific.
Also,
well, in Star Trek it does.
Right.
He's very specific, Bar. This is the issue.
I can't reason with a supernova. I can't tell this. Don't go supernova over here. I'll give you a hot chick.
Don't go.
Okay, I won't go supernova.
You try to save.
So therefore,
I like you just the way.
Also, a force of nature can't succumb to its own guilt. You can't walk up to a tornado and give it a magic guilt whammy, and the tornado goes, "Yeah, I'm sorry about all those white trash people in the trailer parks. I'm sorry about that." So Galactus himself behaves like a being with agency, consciousness,
as an individual
that makes choices. A force of nature, by definition, does not make choices. It behaves in a predictable pattern of, you know what I mean?
Can I refute that?
What's that?
Would you like a rebuttal to that?
Oh, sure.
All right. So I take your point, and your point that Galactus, because he has will, agency, an individual, isn't really a force of nature. All right. I think perhaps maybe the force of nature characterization is a bit flawed, but I'm going to say perhaps a better characterization is that Galactus represents necessity. Yeah? So I pointed out earlier in the chat, there's the law of unintended consequences, right? And the Doctor Who episode, Genesis of the Daleks, and Logic's finest to be smiling because that went backwards and forwards, where Doctor Who has to decide whether to to stop. Yeah, do I have the right to stop them ever existing?
If
right?
You do, Doc, kill them.
Yeah, well,
can I kill a Nazi? Can I kill a Nazi?
But the thing is, there's the law of unintended consequences, and he comes across very rightly that maybe the universe would actually be worse off if I made this change. That species that never cooperated because there weren't any Daleks, have cooperated as a result of them. That other things, that there will be something worse will come along. So it's not a very strong argument, but that's an argument in terms of Galactus as necessity, that he does what he does because it's necessary, right? Yeah, he's an individual, and yeah, he's got his own will and agency, but he does what is necessary. And it's cruel and seems awful, but he's like a shark, right? A shark keeping populations of fish to certain levels.
Okay, you brought me right into Herwenberg. He says, but wait, John, wolves and elephants are forces of nature. No, they're not. They're animals. A force of nature, to me, to my way of thinking, maybe I'm wrong, is a storm. A non-living,
right. So you're right. I see
that's fair.
Earthquake.
So a storm, you can't fly.
Animals are not forces of nature. Animals are animals. And again, animals can be dissuaded. I could come out with a torch and wave the torch, and they choose to move the other direction.
Get a bone. So he's a predator rather than a force of nature.
Right? Is a hamster a force of a force of nature? Is not an animal. It's a mudslide. It's a non-sentient, living thing that just, behaves in like I said, in a predictable, unarguable pattern. You can't wave a torch and get the hurricane to stop. Nine Realms has a really nice comment. Thank you. It's super interesting, guys. It's a great show. Got to get ready for promo.
I think that was a controversy I think that what you're saying is the controversy when the comic came out, by the way.
Yeah, I think it was.
I think it was.
I remember 12-year-olds we were all talking about it. We were all arguing it,
John Byrne is not being as specific as you. You're not wrong, but he's not being as specific as you are about what a force of nature is. You know what I mean? I'm trying to think why he decided to do that. And I think he's thinking of like the Living Tribunal, Eternity. He just put Galactus up with Eternity and the Living Tribunal and all those other guys. And the guys that had the soul gems before Thanos got them all. I mean, he put them up there with death,
Herrenberg is arguing against me, but
that's what Byrne did to Galactus.
Galactus is predictable. We gave him a hot chicken. He left.
But that's what he did to Galactus.
We befriended him and he left. You know what I mean? Like we convinced him to feed on gaseous worlds, and he did it because we saved him.
Did you see the one where he ate the Impossible Man's world and he got
he got indigestion?
Yeah, this is what he's fighting against. So he took those stories where people brought Galactus back too many times. Like at first, when Galactus was first in, we didn't see him for years, and then he showed up in Thor.
Right.
In the Black Galaxy saga, and Ego connected with Ego, the Living Planet. Like this is way above there. So then they started using the 70s. They just started using Galactus like he was Joker. Here's the villain Galactus. Yeah. He was a villain, a bigger villain, but a villain nonetheless.
They devalue a lot of characters.
And John Byrne wanted to value the character up, put him up with Eternity and the Living Tribunal and those other guys that always show up in Doctor Strange and the Celestials and all these way up here. So this is what he did with that. That's why he called, more than likely, mind reading, called them force of nature. But John is right at the same time. John is right, because a force of nature really is a lightning storm. Because if you go to insurance, what's a force of nature? What do they call it?
An act of God.
Act of God.
Or we have another word for it at work. Like if a lightning hits a property, and I have to replace 20 switches, that's an insurance. It isn't someone nobody's paying. Because it's an act of God. Or a force majeure.
Right.
Force majeure.
Force majeure.
Okay.
But Galactus is a force majeure, but he does have sentient. He says you could talk to Galactus. Galactus falls in love. Galactus had a crush on Nova around this time, right?
Right.
Frankie Ray.
No, Nova had a crush on Galactus. That's why she left, because she realized she was wasting her time.
Right. I'm sorry, but you know what I mean. Like he's a sentient being. So you're right. You're not wrong, but that's not what Byrne was thinking.
So John likes to anthropomorphize higher levels of thought into base human instinct. Absolutely. That's a failing of a lower life form trying to judge a higher life. Well,
are you calling John a lower life form? Oh, that's a bit harsh.
Okay. It's a polite way of being insulted.
He's a mere construction worker.
But Galactus behaves like everybody else. He gets hungry, he eats. He sees a friend, he listens to his friend. He bargains, he deals. He acts like a super being.
No, I agree. I'm agreeing with you. I'm just trying to think of what John Byrne was thinking.
Galactus is the embodiment of the great balance between life and death. One hamster to rule them all. I totally agree with that. Hey, Don, how you doing? Is that the definition that you can manipulate to what you want? Storm, for example. Storm, you mean the X-Wing? She's a human being. But they're just like you and me, although they break.
Yeah, they ruined Storm. Storm was a godlike character, and she had a lot of class, and then they gave her,
right,
which was good for a couple of weeks.
Here's another argument.
A couple of months.
Force of nature aren't born. Galactus was born. He's no different than Peter Parker, who got bit by a radioactive spider. He is a human being who became a powerful being.
Okay, but the purpose Galactus fulfills as basically the apex predator of the universe, unless there was a being that went around eating suns, right? That Galactus, if there is the food pyramid of the universe, Galactus is right at the top, and he fulfills a purpose. in when he wipes out planets. It's not a very nice planet purpose, but still, the greater good. Oh,
this didn't show up until 20 years later. The balance between life and death. So I can't introduce that into a story that didn't exist yet. But if Eternity had explained that, then it's a different story. Eternity just shows up and says, "Ineffable knowledge. Trust me, bro."
Trust me, bro.
So here's my argument: is first off, it was the Watcher that interfered and caused this chain of events. If you want to, because if they're going to blame Reed Richards for the death of the Skrulls, then they have to. Why stop there? Why not?
Yeah,
the first time
I would agree with that.
Galactus was thwarted was because of the
Who
Watcher.
cares about the Skrulls? Jeez Louise.
So blame the Watcher. The Watcher,
Marcus.
They
you Skrullist.
They destroyed a civilization, so that it's all their fault.
Marcus.
It's the Skrulls.
Really, you greenophobia, Skrullophobia,
Galactus.
Skrullophobia.
Are we done?
Sorry, John.
So Galactus is supposed to be a force of nature, but force of natures don't react to bargains, deals, friendship, compassion, and guilt. I can't guilt a tornado into changing. So I think the better argument would have been to acknowledge Galactus as a living, breathing, sentient individual, and Reed Richards is a good person who couldn't just let an individual die.
That's that was my original point. Reed Richards cannot let another living being.
Because does anybody blame Batman for all the murders because he's, I'm sure somebody could pull out an issue where Joker is pulled off the roof by Batman and is saved. But everybody still agrees that Batman's a good guy because he saved a life. Now, I hate that argument. Sorry, go ahead, John, but I hate that argument. Batman values life, so he saved a life. It doesn't matter that it's the Joker's life. Like in that Joker's Advocate story where Joker's getting the death penalty by Chuck Dixon and Graham Nolan. He's getting the death penalty. He's going down. He's getting killed. And Batman he actually solves the crime because it was somebody else. And Batman was just like, no, justice has to be served. If the Joker gets killed, somebody else is out there killing other people. And then it was like, well, then the Joker immediately killed 90 billion people after that. So is Batman responsible? You can make that argument. Right.
No, you know what?
No, he's not.
He's not, because he's bringing them to the law. He's not supposed to cold-bloodedly murder them.
Right.
I mean, if they want to do that, then they're going to have Levon Cade come and murder him, or the Punisher.
That's what I always say. It's the Gotham legal system that's the problem, not Batman. Batman's doing what he's supposed to do. So if they had argued that Galactus was born, I assume, of a mother and a father, who knows? Maybe the Gallians are different. Maybe,
don't go there, John.
We don't know, but he was a human being who was given great power. Then he does what he needs to do. If Reed was just like, listen, man, I eat cows, you know what I mean? I eat untold bacteria every time it's just the way of nature. And an individual was dying, and it was no different than a paramedic putting the thing pull. That to me would have been the better argument. I couldn't let anybody die, but then. Who would buy that? I think the Shar would still put him to death, kind of thing. But
probably
who was Shar to decide though? Wait, let's go back. Why is the Shi'ar the ones who decided to put Galactus on trial? Shouldn't it have been the Skrulls whose world was built?
Yeah, because the Skrull and the Shi'ar and the Kree all have a nominal treaty where they recognize each other.
And
I think
except when they don't.
And I think the Skrulls were in disarray and didn't have the ability to do it because their whole world just got destroyed. Eternity was born. Was he born? I don't know. Maybe you got me there on that. Which further makes it he's just a powerful human then. He's no different than Spider-Man or the Human Torch. I drank Skrull milk. Could you shape change? Where was Eternity born? I'm not doubting you. But I want to read that then. Marcus Kellegrew, you might be right out of town.
Okay. Well,
shady I'm scared. Otherwise, they would Joe vote. Okay. That has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Hang on a moment.
Oh, I think that maybe you're right. East Caucus.
Your argument's got a lot of merit, John, because if I think about it, so let's say you come across a car crash, right? And there's a guy, he's bleeding to death, and you put a tourniquet around his leg and he lives, right? Then you discover he is a mass murderer, a serial killer who has killed 80 people. And then because you saved his life, goes on to kill 80 more. Are you responsible for those crimes? No. And so,
No.
yeah, you got a point there. Reed Richards could probably use that argument. That's not bad, actually.
What about if you know that he's a serial killer?
Yeah, I don't think you still wouldn't be accessible because you're not helping him commit his crimes.
Right.
Other than you've got some kind of duty of care. You've got some duty of care to preserve life, right?
Every
if you're a doctor,
they have to save you. They have to save you.
How many times did Captain America beat somebody down and then off camera calls the medics? You know, or you know what I mean? How many times did Spider-Man beat the crap out of Dr. Octopus and drop him off at the police? You know what I mean? Like, should he just beat him up and let him hang off the bridge until the dissolves and falls to his death? You know, I don't know.
Well, all these things are going to happen in Heroic Tales, people. So you better order that thing at 9 o'clock on Bankrupt Channel.
You're questioning the nature of heroism, John.
Right.
You're asking questions about the nature of heroism.
To get into, obviously, I didn't do it the first issue. It was just get your toes wet, you know, things like that. People told me to tone it. People who read my original script are like, tone it down, bro. Tone it down. So maybe I succeeded. Maybe I didn't. I don't know. Later, homies. Good to see you, Don.
Take it easy, Don.
Bro. Yeah, Spew. What's that, Hermione?
I don't want to know. Thanks.
Can I ask you a Galactus question? You
Sure.
two? What? It's relevant because it's Byrne as well. So Byrne did a one-shot Galactus versus Darkseid, The Hunger.
Yeah.
If you've seen it is amazing. I was on a stream last year about it. It's awesome.
I just want to address Don before he leaves.
Oh, you got.
Yes, I'm going to be launching at 9 o'clock, so in a half hour. And after Bancroft, I assume he's only going to give me an hour. I'm going to be back here with an open invite for anybody who wants to come in.
I'll see. I'm tired, man.
If anybody wants to come in and chill, anybody wants to come in and talk, because I'm not going to be able to sleep on launch night. So, Don, come on in. Come on in. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but he said he was leaving. I just wanted to get.
No, that's cool. That's all right, John. No, that's all right. What was I saying? Oh, that's but. Oh, here's Logic Finest.
Yeah, I was always the impression that eternity was just the combined intelligence of all sentient life in the universe. So for him to be born, I'm not saying you're wrong, because who knows what the later writers probably did. He's probably, like somebody said, he's probably born of two mommies and, you know, and was born and identifies as a female. Who knows? Probably used they, them.
I thought he coalesced. He coalesced spontaneously.
I'm making jokes, but if anybody has they them pronouns, I think sentience or eternity is the one being that that can do it. And I keep saying sentience because in my Heroic Tales universe, the analog of eternity is called sentience.
No, do you know what eternity's pronoun is? Us.
Us. Okay, I'll buy that.
Eternity's pronoun is us because we're part of him.
Yeah, I thought Bucky was finished.
We us.
Right. Yeah. So. Nice. I might stop in. Okay, good. Now I'm going to, James, hit the man. Okay. By the way, where does Uncle Scrooge McDuck stand in this? I got to read. I keep looking over there because it's right there. The first hardcover compilation of the Scrooge McDuck. I haven't read any of those Carl Barks books. Here's the real question. Is Jesus a force of nature? Good question. He was born? No, he wasn't.
Well, he was born, but he wasn't conceived.
He was fully man. If you're a force of nature, you're not fully. He was fully God. Right? Isn't that the divine mystery? Well, yeah, that
is the mystery. Well, it depends if you're Catholic or not.
You know, force of nature's. You know, they don't plead to get this cup taken away from them. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't want to get into religion. Somebody's going to get upset, but you know. But I would.
Well, yeah, but the Galactus stuff. The question does border on religion, however.
Right.
That's something to think about.
I'm so mad that I edited this wrong or titled this wrong, because some people would have come in and talked more if they. Sounds good. Have a great launch. This is all out here. Thank you, OmniPro. I kind of like that name, OmniPro. It's post 19. That is cool. If it's post, I just. What are you talking about? If it's post 1996, am I missing something?
Is that Marvel continuity, mate? Is that what you're talking about?
That's the new multiverse stuff.
Yeah.
I ignore all the Marvel Reborn stuff. I don't think I don't
Fair
know.
enough.
He's our God-made man, so he's God too. Yep, I hear your logic. Apparently, very recently in X-Men Storm number 5, 2025, in a 2017 issue of Ultimates, it said that Eternity is in its 8th iteration since the Big Bang because various multiverse again. I hate the multiverse. Everything that entails.
Don't want to know.
Do you remember that story of Doctor Strange? What was before? It was the end of his that. And a couple of times they've destroyed the whole world and nobody knew it except for Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did that at least twice. Englehart did it, and I think Roy Thomas did it. And it's kind of maybe that's what they're thinking about.
Logic. Did you see what I said about my apology for that? No, I didn't. But you didn't hurt my feelings. What I'm scrolling around. I don't see any insults. And the only time it was when you thought I was getting aggravated at you when I was really getting aggravated at losing control of my channel. So I'm usually pretty chill. So I if you insulted me and that's cool, and if you're apologizing, that's cool. But this is the kind of stuff I want to debate, and nobody's getting
only
mad.
I can make John angry. You don't know that.
Oh.
That's not true either, but you know.
It really matter if no one knows that you did it. That's what I tried to argue with my mom when I started a fire in the wood when I was a kid. Nobody knew I did it. Like, that made it okay. Eternity is a tremendously powerful abstract entity, an embodiment of the multiverse, so it has no real physical body. Can manipulate the multiverse to right. Now, like, I insult nobody. Zero need. Absolutely. Nobody's getting insulted.
You know what you have to follow this stream up with, don't you? Where this is going. You need to follow this up with Eternity, or maybe even the Beyonder, versus the Presence from the DC universe. Because, you know, the DC universe has, there's a character, the Presence, who is basically God, right?
Yeah, he's above
whereas Marvel, he was in the Lucifer comics, whereas Marvel, I could never work out, because I didn't follow Marvel, you know, after the 90s, I could never work out whether the Living Tribunal or Eternity or the Beyonders were meant to represent the ultimate being, right? Like a God being.
Outside, the Living Tribunal is, according to the Marvel Universe that came out in the 80s, he was the closest in power and authority to God. But Marvel, you remember, Marvel and DC never showed the presidents. They never gave them names, and they always had them as shadowy figures out of respect for the presidential office. They did the same thing to God.
Byrne did.
Yeah.
Byrne did in Legends in 1985. He had Reagan. Martian Manhunter saves him from terrorists.
Also, Falcon rescued Ronald Reagan, but it was a long-standing tradition that they didn't. So they did the same thing. So they had things that were like standard. So, you know, the Living Tribunal has no. I always made the Living Tribunal Metatron in my headcanon. You know, the arch.
Ooh.
You know, but that's you know the one above. The one above all is the ultimate celestial. It's not God.
Yeah.
And the Celestials, according to Kirby, were supposed to be angels. And the one above all.
Also, Kirby didn't want the Eternals weren't supposed to be in the Marvel Universe.
They work so much better when they're not.
And they don't fit that well on the Marvel Universe.
It just drives me nuts that there's Zuros and Zeus. You know,
exactly. And then there's the Forgotten One, and there's Beowulf. You know, like that's the original hero, the Forgotten One.
I thought it was Gilgamesh.
I kind of liked him, but still, he did all of Hercules's. Half of Hercules' labors. That bothered me too.
Right. I really don't necessarily prevent me. Yeah, I insult people by accident. Mostly my wife. I don't realize.
I did that this morning.
Came close to it this morning. Some guy got on the subway, sat directly across to me, stared me right in the eyes, and says, "I kill all white people, even their woman."
Really?
So I took my glasses off, put them in my pocket, put my phone in my pocket, and stared at this guy the whole ride because I was like, I'm not going to be taken by surprise. And he just looked at me, and after a while he got up like 2 stops later and left. I was just like,
you out crazied him, John. Congratulations.
I out crazied the crazy person. But what are you gonna do? You're on the subway. You know, you're in a trapped box. You're in a confined area.
Unless that fella who was found not guilty of manslaughter happens to be on the same car.
Yeah, but
which case you're fine.
Who wants to get arrested and go through all of that and then have to leave?
Well, that's why nobody helps anybody in the city. But people say that now. It's always been like that. New Yorkers are known not to get involved. Since what was that case in the 60s, remember?
I don't know.
Well, they
But
all
Oh,
knew this girl got murdered.
Kitty Genovese. Kitty Genovese. Yeah, Moore used that in Watchmen, eh? That Rorschach's mask
That's right.
was
That's
made
right.
was made of her dress.
Kitty Genovese. That's the famous New York thing where they really didn't. They don't want to get involved because they don't know what's going to happen to them.
Logic's finest. Marcus, didn't Kirby create the New Gods for Marvel, but Stan hated it, so he left for DC?
The story was that Kirby's plan was to have the Thor and Asgard go through a real Ragnarok and get rid of the New Gods. But Thor was really popular for Stan, rightly so, said, no, we're going to keep going with Thor. So he held all the characters back. Also, the more angry that he got at Stan, the less he did. The last part of his last couple of years in Fast Times 4, while it's still good, he didn't create anything because him and his wife would say, that's too good for Marvel. Marvel's screwing you.
Yeah.
His wife had a voice just like that, apparently. And he kept everything back, and then DC screwed him just as hard as Marvel, maybe more. You know.
Maybe model the thing on her. Look, I've got to run. Thanks for having me on, John. Thanks, Marcus. Thanks, chat. All of you support Heroic Tales.
And if you want to pop in later in a couple of hours, I'm going to be live until I can't stay awake anymore.
I'm literally going to run a cultural event right now, so I got to get my guitar and I got to go sing some Welsh songs. So anyway, God bless everyone. Take care. Support John and Heroic Tales.
I'm
all
starting
the best.
a conspiracy theory that there is no Welsh language. It's all a big, vast trick on us all. I'm the pro good. Sorry, we were all human. When I hang out with you in New York one day, we'll have some fun. Yeah, I'll take you to my favorite diner. It's South American, Ecuadorian. Oh my God, it's so good.
That's what I miss. I miss the regular diner, the Rochelle diner. You know,
a typical Long Island accent like mine. See you later. How you doing?
Yeah, you're more of a New York accent than a Long Island.
So guys, I gotta eat something and caffeinate because at 9 o'clock I'm gonna be on Bancroft's channel. So
I'll be in the chat.
I'm kind of nervous. I'm excited. I'm nervous. I'm whatever. Like I said, I already gave my frantic panic call to Luke Stone. He's freaking awesome. Fund My Comic is the way to go.
Who's doing somebody big is going to do a Fund My Comic campaign.
So what do you guys think? I'm of the opinion that Reed Richards should have let Galactus die. For the argument that he's a force of nature and blah blah blah.
I think you're right. But I don't think Reed Richards would ever do that. So there's that.
So they should have played up that Reed Richards was helping.
And it was faulty logic. You know faulty logic to burn to say was a force of nature, but they had to come up with something. They didn't want to get rid of
can't save a force of nature. Like, okay, so he let a tornado die.
If
he let an earthquake die. He let a supernova die. You know what I mean? Now, if Reed Richards had stopped the supernova and then restarted it and killed out a civilization, then you know what I mean? So if Galactus is a force of nature, then Reed Richards is guilty. If Galactus is an individual with agency and individuality, and Reed saved an individual, then Reed Richards is innocent. How's that, Logic's finest? What do you think? So, okay. So, what should we do next week? I'm going to give a couple of minutes, but I want to eat something and get ready because I'm going to be on Bancroft. I got to put on my Heroic Tales t-shirt.
I got to clean this up.
But Reed Richards should have been tried by an Earth court, but he didn't break any Earth laws. You know what I mean? The Earth people, do they even know about scrolls? I guess they do. They do, right? It's funny how, like, every time an alien race is introduced, it's a big deal. It's like, dude, there's been alien. You guys knew about alien races for like 50 years. You know,
I think there's people they have the people forget. What was like in Marvels? They don't really remember all that stuff.
Right. So, Logic, what do you think? I'm real curious what you think. Logic keeps me honest.
I got it.
Oh, Velvet Room punishing. Velvet Room Punishing. Yeah, it's a dominatrix service over here. Now, Velvet Room Publishing. How you doing? It's good to see a new name. Good. Hope you didn't come in here and leave because I insulted you. No, it's just because I'm wearing glasses that the prescription is worn out because I smashed my glasses at work today. Marcus, could you draw Sydney Sweeney as anything?
I could draw. I have a Power Girl I was trying to draw. If I ever get, I have finished stuff, I will draw a Power Girl.
So what do you guys think? What should be the next It's Clobbering time? Do we have any suggestions?
Oh,
thank you. Wow, I actually got a good argument from a logical professor over here. All right, cool. Should I brush off the old law degree? Herwenberg, I'm kind of curious what you have to say. Let's be honest. Even if the Watchers and the Shard give Galactus, they couldn't judge Galactus. so they're judging Reed Richards. That's that whole power argument, you know.
Right.
Galactus is guilty, but we can't do nothing about Galactus. Like Cameroon says, the United States is guilty, but we can't do anything about the United States. We could judge him, but we can't enforce it. So we're going to take out Reed Richards. Starfire versus Adam Eve. That's an interesting one.
Who's Adam Eve?
Invincible's girlfriend.
Oh, I know who she is now. I don't read a lot of Invincible, but
That's an interesting one.
I'm not the extreme violence turns me off. I like the idea of it though.
That is an interesting one. Two sexy redheaded beings battling it out. Who wins? Heroinberg wins. But I really got to go now. So put it in the chat. I put it in the comments. If you put it in the chat, it's hard to see. Put it in the comments who you think we should do next week, and who do you think wins? What's the verdict? But I'm sorry to rush out like this, but
all right, yeah, you got to go. All right,
thanks a lot, everybody.
Take it easy.
And I'm gonna play the trailer one last time.
Okay,
and then we're out of here. Go to Michael Bancroft's at 9:00. Back Rogue Tales at 9:15.